Hi, Susan Norwell here from Rett University, doing a very, very short lesson on something I have coined as soft questioning. Thus all the question marks that are there. You see my email above. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me, and there's also the website for Rett University. There is a battle going on in our schools, in case you haven't noticed, and in therapy sessions also, to be fair. And the battle and the struggle is between assessment and apraxia. And you know, apraxia and assessment are really not best friends. In fact, they kind of work opposite each other, and let me kind of explain why. Here's the challenge. There's a really big push-pull between behavioral philosophy and expectations and apraxia. And so anyone affected by apraxia, and Rett syndrome would be front and center in that regard, is going to run into this push-pull because let's see, I've been out of school 40 some years. We'll forget the sum and just say 40, but it's been a long time. And it was at about that time when I graduated that there began to be this huge behavioral philosophy, huge behavioral strategy set that was pushed into special education. At the same time as in general education, they were trying to have kids kind of actualize their potential and become lifelong learners. There was this huge behavioral push in the special education section, and largely due to the fact that they were trying to figure out a way to measure progress. Because certainly there have been times where children have not made progress in special education classes, and they needed to have a way that would be more definite in showing whether a child made progress or not. So it tends to create, though, this behavioral expectation of children being able to physically show what they know, creates more apraxia and results in less answers on behalf of our kids. In fact, oftentimes they might even use their devices to want the kids to make an answer, like tell me what color this is, and they've got to go find it on their device, which then pairs that anxiety and that apraxia, that discomfort of the apraxia with the device, and the kids stop using their devices or use their devices very little. It also ends up, unfortunately, because the child then creates less answers because they're more anxious, because they're more apraxic, tends to result in lower expectations for the kiddo that is capable of higher level work. Now, what the result of that is, you can kind of see this cyclical thing happening, is that the kiddo then wants to do less because they're bored and or insulted. Why are they asking me to identify my colors for the 95th time in the last 3 weeks? I'm just not going to do it. And the cycle, or the cycle, if you would like to be a little bit St. James version, and the cycle begins, where you get this kind of cyclical thing happening, where anytime a kiddo feels like they're getting questioned, their anxiety goes up because they know their apraxia is going to kick in, and the teacher's not going to be happy, and they're going to end up doing stupid work. So what can we do about it? There has to be something we can do about it. I am not against assessment. I want to come out here loud and strong and say I am not against assessment. My kids, over time, learn to tolerate taking a developmental spelling test, answering questions after they read a story, so I know that I can benchmark them and move them on to the next level, or can answer questions about something they've read, something they've seen, something they've done. But I find soft questioning to be a better way to go. Things like, I'm just kind of wondering where the letter B is, or maybe you can see the M, or I'm thinking, and then you pause and they look over at something, or they say something on their talker. I'm just kind of wondering what you're thinking, and you give them a little time, and if they don't, then you just move on. Or I'm trying to find, as if I'm the person struggling, I'm the person having trouble. Now, the other technique I found helpful is that when you slow down your modeling, sometimes I'm trying to spell a word and I'll say, I'm going to spell the word dog, kind of show you how to work with this, ABC flipbook. And as I'm going through A, B, C, D, I pause, and they're already looking over on the yes, because they know that dog starts with a D. And so sometimes just taking your time and pausing, they will show you much more. Also, I never like to do it's so easy. I'm doing like a ton of kindergarten screenings right now. There's just like a ton of my clients that are going into kindergarten. And there's these lovely kindergarten screenings they do that take the neurotypical kindergartner, maybe 20 minutes, because they can all point to the letters or say the letters or point to the shapes or say the shapes. They've got all those abilities to do that. And for our kids, it takes a lot more time. But the other thing I would do is I wouldn't give it to them all in one sitting. Is I would say, you know what, I'm going to ask you 4 questions here. I've got to fill this out because they're going to get mad at me if I don't fill it out. And so I'm just going to ask you 4 questions. And the next day, I'm going to ask you 4 more. And the next day, I'm going to ask you 4 more. And we kind of put it in bite-sized chunks, all the while giving them access to their device. So between questions, they can say something, which is very, very comforting, because I will tell you that communication is paramount to keeping people feeling relaxed and engaged in the process. So that was very short and very sweet, but the whole idea of soft questioning is that you don't lambast them ever with find the, get the, what's the, do the. Those get erased out of your vocabulary and instead is replaced by, I wonder, just kind of wondering, or maybe you can see it, I'm having a little trouble, or, I'm kind of wondering what you're thinking, or slow down and wait till they show you something and make sure you recognize it. Our job when we're doing assessment is not to grill and drill them. Our job is to really take delight in noticing what they can do. All right? Thanks for joining me at Rett University. Bye-bye.